to A Day in the Life.
What's up?
Wait, did you just take a deep breath? He got the nerve.
Good evening, everyone.
This is how it feels to be back here with everybody we do and all that.
Guests.
I feel special
Look there, that camera there.
Look at this camera right
Yeah,
here.
that camera there, yeah.
You know I'm not a novice, right?
Okay.
Well, excuse me.
Okay, wait. But Granny is in the chat early. Good evening, everyone. Oh, Mama
Yeah.
Ryan, even earlier.
Yes.
Tracy.
Excuse
everyone.
Elder Shirley.
Come on, everybody, give it up for our special guest.
My Cash App is no. I'm-
Oh my goodness.
First appearance on the Real Life Talk
Is it my first
show
time?
on the set with us.
It
Yeah,
is.
it is.
Yeah, on the set, yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what? We've done it from home when we went online
Mhm.
before.
Right.
So,
But
yeah.
the set,
But the
I feel
set.
so, it feels so TV-ish. So,
Yes.
Oh.
Welcome to TV.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hello,
y'all do a
everyone.
good job back here too.
Thank you.
My God.
Thank you very much.
Did we win an
Pastor.
Emmy?
Thank you. You
We
know
won
what?
win a
a
church
we won a Reggie.
Yes.
Soon. No.
I thought that was weed, the Reggie.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Hey, y'all.
Hey,
Welcome to
Elder Hinton, how are you?
Smoking the Reggie. That's what they say. That's the
Do
call
they?
weed.
See, I don't know.
Yes,
See,
back.
this how this show gets off.
Low grade
Y'all done went off all
marijuana.
easily.
It's real life.
Low
Keep us
grade
on track,
marijuana is Reggie.
No who?
Low grade marijuana.
Low or the cheap marijuana is Reggie. Why the cheap one got
I
to be
don't know,
Reggie?
y'all.
But we were talking about you guys winning an Emmy, which,
Oh,
I think is coming soon.
See how
There
we
you go.
easily get.
Praise
Welcome,
the Lord.
everyone. Welcome to the Real Life
Welcome.
Talk. It is Wednesday night.
Woo,
we love to have you here.
yes.
Thank you for staying tuned in. Go ahead and start sharing,
Tag.
tagging,
Sharing is
put
caring.
those names in. We want to see it
Please.
just filled.
Yeah.
Because we have a great community talk.
Hey, Asia Lewis.
Hey,
Yes,
y'all.
yes.
Hey. She
She
say,
said pastors and real life talk hosts.
You know what?
Good evening.
Pastor Ray got to keep mom from being carnal tonight.
No.
Yeah, see, he already started out carnal talking about the Reggie was the low grade, the cheap
And you
weed.
keep going back
Okay.
there.
I mean,
Well, who started it?
Let's,
Young Marvin's
You
ready,
you-
y'all. He
well,
been gone, so
I ain't
he
gonna
back. He ready. He
I've been
full of
gone for
energy.
too long. Think
Uh-huh.
it's time I bring it back.
oh,
We not
Where
talking
that
about
come
the
from?
weed.
That's a song
A
on
song
the radio.
from
is it?
What's
Is that Sierra or is
That
that
GCI?
This is how,
No.
this how y'all show
I
keep
listen
going
to
back.
Taylor.
I don't listen to K-Love. I don't listen to any of that.
K-Love.
I listen to the Heat and all of that.
The Heat?
The Heat.
It's like
That's
the trap music.
The
serious.
ratchet music.
That's the serious
You
right.
You are
No.
the carnal host then.
We be
He
trying
is.
to tell y'all.
He is.
But here's the thing.
Keep them
This is
grounded.
Young
Who
Mom
gets
and full
punished
effect.
more? The person who sets the trap or the person who falls for it? I just happen to fall in the traps when they are presented.
Oh, okay.
That's
All right.
what happens.
No, you
How do
sometimes
you wanna
set some
see?
traps.
Like I said
What?
Reggie, and then you said weed, and then I had to go into that.
And
Hey.
Oh, she's all in.
LaQuincy is all in.
Yeah,
She
she's
showed me that.
all
I saw
in.
her
Yes.
in the video. She
She
sent me.
sent me a video.
Yeah.
Her all in. Her all
You know,
in
she's a
hoodie
newer
on.
partner, but
Yeah.
I like our new partners that act like they've been there all the time.
I
That's
love
right.
it. They
They
fall
just
right
jump
in
right
line.
in. Like,
Yes.
You got to.
Good evening.
Okay, so all y'all that's online, y'all on y'all way
Oh,
here, right?
Tracy
Yes, they are.
said that's a Justin Bieber praise and worship.
It probably
song.
is. He was probably. I was in the
That's on,
studio.
that's on his album.
I was in the studio when he was in there making it. I was like,
Now
yeah,
you lying
that
on the
sounds
show.
good. I was like, yeah, that sounds
Everything's
good.
out on the
We
show.
done went
Live
from
on the show.
lie to weed
Weed is on
to
the show.
trap music.
Trap
What else do we
music,
have
okay.
here?
It's
All
the
right.
real life talk, everybody.
real
life
You
talk.
just never
It
know
really
what you
is.
might
You
get.
don't.
Especially when you
Never
got young Marv
Okay.
Right.
in the building. Okay,
And your
praise God.
pastors. And your pastors.
Don't put that on us.
No.
And your pastors.
We're just here.
My name is London.
Oh,
Right.
Oh.
Right. You forgot. That's
Right, you
London.
London.
I hate
London.
this. And I'm young Marv.
And I'm London.
Yes.
Yeah. And you are?
And you are.
I'm Reggie.
Reggie.
Gregory.
Why can't nobody have a regular name on this place, on this show?
Do y'all ever get to talk about stuff? Y'all just have fun.
We
like
do.
that, like
Just-
We do.
We do it sometimes.
We always have something planned.
Plan, that's it.
But we
We
never
haven't
get
planned.
to it.
Maybe I'm playing
Man.
it.
Oh, but the Lord.
He was
But sometimes we don't make
His
it there.
purpose is
Okay, while
always
they cutting up,
prevail.
y'all should be sharing and sharing
Sharing
and
is
sharing.
Yes.
Karen.
Hello,
Sharing
YouTubers
is
out there.
Hello.
Hello, Twitter viewers out there.
Hello.
Please start to continue to share. We love that you
Yeah.
are a part of the Real Life Talk. Every time that we are here and we are on, you should be coming in the building.
Yep.
We are in the building. You know, this is our community talk, and it's been so powerful.
She was smoking and drinking.
I was not.
She was smoking and drinking. That is how rumors start. But you know
Who said
what?
that?
Last week he said.
Oh, I wish I had that clip. Who
Oh,
said-
in the
If you can
Bahamas.
tell me what that clip is from, who said that? Who said that? Who said
That's
that?
in the movie?
If you can tell me what that's from, don't say if you know it. If you can tell me what that's from, I'll
know
give
that.
you a $5 gift card to
That's a new
Starbucks.
school movie.
Who said
I mean, you know,
that?
$5 at Starbucks can get you
Who
some
said
napkins,
that?
right?
Pretty much.
Napkins
Right.
or a cup of water.
Okay, I'll get you a $10 gift
That's from the
card.
movie.
There we go.
No.
Who said that? Who said that?
Who said that? Oh, okay, you don't count. You're a cheater. A Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yes.
Oh, so I didn't even know what
Oh,
it
you
was.
watched that too? Ratchet.
TV.
You went
Ratchet.
from Carmen to being ratchet.
I watch all the reality shows.
We listen to the Heat.
The
Heat,
Heat, Justin Bieber.
He just turns
Justin
the
Bieber.
channel when it
So
comes to
can
Caleb.
can I tell them why they should be sharing? So I
Yes,
can go?
please.
Okay, come
Please,
on.
go ahead.
I
Sure.
gotta get my agent on book me for 5
Right,
minutes.
right.
We only paid you for how much is your overtime?
No, I need you guys to
Sure.
share because tonight is going to be very special,
Yes.
and we got some special people that's going to be sharing tonight
Mm-hmm.
in the community talk regarding parenting and understanding children with special needs.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm gonna tell you. So you might
That's
want to
good.
really
You do wanna be
jump
here.
in. And he says that doesn't apply to me. Somebody you know it applies to.
That's right.
So share on
That's
their
right.
page, invite them, like it. Do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a great night.
It will
Start
be.
sharing.
It's
Wonderful
not going to be
night.
wretched. It's not going to be carnal.
No.
Marvin's not going to be
I
on
will
this
be
thing.
there.
tonight.
Marvin will not be
So
here.
we will make sure that it is good, decent, and in order.
Lord.
Hey, y'all need to have like
Some food, right?
yeah, something
Fruit
back here.
and yeah, okay.
Some
I can
food.
raise
Well, you know, on
my-
Sundays,
Well, we're gonna get y'all a regular table thing to sit up
Okay.
like on the view or something.
See, that's how we get stuff done.
See,
Uh-huh.
See? By having me on.
Have
Yes.
you on.
Y'all heard it live right here,
Once a
right?
month, we gonna have him on.
Listen, whatever you guys want.
oh my Lord.
See?
Come on.
See,
Accent and
Uh-oh.
shell.
are you listening to trap music on the show?
He's listening to trap
Y'all
music
heard
right by this
But
microphone.
thank y'all
I
for
know
having
y'all
me.
can hear.
I'm
Thank you for
gonna
having
step
us.
away
I know
now.
y'all can hear.
Thank you for being
we got
here with
good
us.
things planned.
We do.
My God.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Bye bye. See y'all later.
Okay.
My God.
It's very low.
Okay.
wait,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you guys
Okay, wait.
again. What
Now
happened?
who playing with the camera?
Right. We should have
Right.
kept the camera
Right.
right. Come on.
Thank you all again for the shenanigans is in the building. Yes. And we have a great time on the Real Life Talk. We do have a great show, as Pastor said. So please continue to share. Please continue to like. Please continue to let everyone know that the Real Life Talk is on. We've had the last 3 weeks in our family series, and we've been having great conversation, guys.
Yes.
Great conversations, being very involved. I've seen a lot of comments. Everybody is all in on this. And so this is no different. We have a special guest for you tonight. Before we even get to this beautiful, I might be a little biased, but beautiful young woman.
Yeah.
Our topic tonight is focusing on the family and special needs. And as he said, even if it doesn't, you feel like it may not apply to you, it's still some great information to know. I want you to check this video out of our special guest and just walk in a day in the life with her. Check it out.
Welcome to A Day in the Life of Dom, the BCBA mom. Tackling entrepreneurship, becoming a winning woman, and all of the other many tasks we take on a daily basis. I'm Dominique, a board-certified behavior analyst, well-versed in applying ABA techniques to our everyday parenting lifestyles, and I'm a mom. More specifically, I'm a mother of a child with autism. If you are a proud parent of a child with autism or special needs, aspiring to become a BCBA, or just looking for some positive parenting tools to add to your toolbox, you're in the right place.
Did y'all enjoy that? I did. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put your hands together right now for the
clap
beautiful,
your
the
hands.
legendary, the incomparable Dominique Shorter Taylor.
Picture time.
Hello.
You heard how she threw that shorter in there.
You see how
She wanted y'all to know.
Slipped it right in.
you know,
She wanted y'all to know.
She slipped it in.
I had to slip it in. Yes.
What a wonderful intro.
Y'all, right. Of course. What a wonderful guest.
yourselves. You guys are awesome.
Oh my
Round of
goodness,
applause
thank
for
you.
yourself.
Yes. We are honored and privileged to have you here with us on the Real Life Talk. You look beautiful. Don't you agree, everyone? Yes. Everyone, welcome Dominique. She
Dun,
is
dun, dun, dun.
Is that appropriate?
Yes,
It is.
yes. Oh,
It
everything's.
is. We
There's
cut up.
nothing.
Everything
There's
is nothing.
nothing.
Come
Yeah,
on,
there's
cut up,
nothing.
cut up with it.
Everything and nothing is appropriate.
Everything, all things, and nothing at all.
Yes.
Yes.
All things.
Yes. Feel comfortable, especially when you're around.
Yes. Just a mess.
Anyway, the BCBA mom.
Yes.
Dom, the BCBA
Tell
mom.
the people.
She is
Tell
going
the
to go
people.
into
Yeah,
that.
tell the people what that means.
Okay, Dom, the BCBA mom. That is my YouTube persona. So I started a YouTube channel about 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And initially I started the channel because some of you may know I am a BCBA, that's a board certified behavior analyst. That just means I have a background
period.
You can put it there if you want
Right
to,
there.
If you want to put a period in right there,
It
do.
goes. Insert period.
That means I have a background in psychology. I have a master's and a bachelor's in psychology. But then I had no job after that. So I was working with adults with developmental delays and intellectual disabilities. And I wanted to continue to work with that population, but I needed something else to give them. I was a case manager at the time, and I feel like I wasn't meeting my fulfilling my purpose in that position. So I discovered applied behavior analysis, ABA, and while I was doing it, so funny how God works. While I was going through that program, I was seeing early signs of autism in my son. And I am pretty sure I wouldn't have been able to correlate those two had I not been in the program. So I started working with, children with autism, and they would do things and they would say things, and I would just be like, oh, that's just so, I can't put my finger on it. That's just so familiar to what I'm doing at home or what I'm seeing at home. So although I eventually put two and two together, and my son did get an autism diagnosis when he was 9, I had been in the field for years and never sought out an autism diagnosis just because of the stigma that's associated with it in the Black community. And I'm sure we're going to get there later because that's a whole other conversation. This is just the intro, right?
Come on.
By the way, Dominique will be on the platform tonight, so this is just the intro.
This is just a pre-show.
Yes, the
They work it, we live, y'all.
She
gonna be
she said we working her.
Exactly.
Right. So I started a YouTube channel because after my son got a diagnosis, it was still, if I have to admit, there was still a bit of shame associated with that as a mom. Like, what did I do wrong? Should I have tackled it earlier? Was I being neglectful? Is it my fault?
Oh my goodness.
And I had to get over that. And in order to get over that, I had to talk about it and speak about it and share my story. So I started Dom the BCBA Mom just to share resources of if you are seeing signs and you're not able to, get your child to behave without whooping them or yelling at them. That was one of my earlier videos. Or how to incorporate positive reinforcement into your parenting. In the Black community, we all like, do what you're supposed to do. I'm not going to praise
Reward you for doing the right thing.
And that is almost opposite of what you should be doing with a child with special needs or a child in general. So I wanted to normalize that in the Black community. My audience is always Black moms who were seeing those signs. And then it quickly evolved to people who were trying to get into the field. So it quickly evolved to, I want to be a behavior analyst too. I want to go and get my master's in psychology. So it was actually twofold because now we know representation matters. We're going to get into that as well. We are not likely to go out and get these diagnoses and to seek these services if we don't see anybody that looks like us that are going through the same thing. So I wanted to represent Black moms who may be seeing this in their homes, and I wanted to also represent Black clinicians or future clinicians or people in the psychology field who want to help individuals with autism, but they need to see it done first in a Black woman. So that's how it started. I love my YouTube channel. I love vlogging. It's a part of my self-care.
Tell us how we can subscribe.
You can subscribe. Go to YouTube right now, Dom the BCBA Mom. Please subscribe. That would be so great. But as you saw in that video, I vlog a lot. I was vlogging the Winning Women pajama party, which was so much fun. It was right before the pandemic. That was like our last hurrah.
Yes.
And we needed that. But I am, and you may recognize me. I've served here at the church in the media team, and that is how I kind of got my confidence in vlogging and putting things out there and editing and serving and being comfortable with talking because I'm very shy. You may not know this from my YouTube channel or from when I'm here, but I'm very shy. So I had to cultivate those skills, and I learned that I was able to be comfortable in those skills by serving here at my local church. That was just a little plug.
A little
lifeline
plug.
You know, serving.
Serving.
Confidence. Serving brought confidence.
Absolutely. And you talk about that in your life track.
With Monday.
Yo, if you're not signing up for like track, if you're not signing up for like track, you do need to sign up for like track. It's a really good class, and it'll get you like on board for your purpose and everything. But I wanted to touch base on, like, I didn't know that Dom had a YouTube. But it's so interesting though. You've done such a good job at like cross channeling and recycling and reusing content, because I actually follow her on TikTok. One day I was just scrolling and I was like, wait, who is this? And I looked, and it's the exact stuff that she's talking about. And I think it's interesting though, like how helpful it is, because I'm not necessarily trying to do that. But I do think the stuff you talk about is super interesting. And so it caused me to be like, I'm going to follow. Like, outside of the fact that I know you, I'm going to follow. And I watch your videos all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Or like, you know, if you say something, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I didn't know that. That's so cool. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting when you see people actually moving in what they're supposed to do. You can help anybody. You know what I'm saying? When you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. And it's great to see you doing that.
Thank you. And what I love about TikTok is it's short and more consumable than a whole 10-minute YouTube or coming here and hearing us talk on a panel for an hour. So I mean, you have to be unique with how you disseminate whatever it is that you are supposed to do on this earth. You can't be rigid and just like, oh, if you don't come,
how I do it.
Yeah. So you have to be open to all of that, and you got to be a little silly. You can't take yourself too seriously. Some people are like, board certified behavior. Like, no, it ain't that.
Because nobody really cares. Like that's great that people in your field care that you went to school and all that kind of stuff. Nobody cares about that. Do you know what you're talking about or not? And how can I get the information? That you do know what you're talking about, and that's dope.
I just give me a TikTok.
Yes. We can do.
I don't know how to do it.
We're gonna do our first video.
Okay.
It's gonna go viral.
Yes. Okay.
We got it. It's gonna be fun.
You know,
They had to introduce me to it. Trust and believe. Yes.
And you know what? Let me tell you what's so crazy. I think all three of us have had like viral moments, right? Okay. My first viral moment, I was picking Rayshawn up to go hang out, and I saw a video. Somebody said, "Stitch this if you know whatever," and I stitched it. I wasn't even thinking. I just like made a quick video and posted it. Now all my other videos used to be curated, planned, all that.
Stitched it
randomly. 2 million views in like 2 days.
There it is.
And so,
there it is.
But to that point, it's like
followers.
I was just talking about something that I knew about. So to your point, I think, and to your point, even with Life Track, again, hop in and be willing to do what you're called to do, regardless if that's serving at your local church, that's in your community, that's in your family, and that's how it starts.
I like that, Mom.
So if you don't know your purpose and all, we going into Life Track, but if you don't know your purpose and what you're called to do, you can start serving in your local church. Or if you know your purpose and you might be afraid to step out in it. Like she said, it gave her confidence serving in her local church. So that is very important.
It is. Real quick, just we talking about that. My sister was one that she was coming here to Lifeline. She wanted to hug us. She not a this, that, but she ended up getting on the greeter.
Right.
And now, even to this day, when you walk in, hi, I love you. It opened up her. It opened her up. And so that is definitely when you don't know. And you might even feel like, I don't do that. I don't do that. Right. But when you start serving and you start opening up and you start seeing, and like I said, to this day, she's always like, hey. So shout out to my sister, Denise.
Serving in your local church opens doors to destiny.
It does.
That's true.
It does. No, you cannot record TikTok on VHS.
But you can put a VHS filter on it.
Get somewhere.
You can put VHS.
Get somewhere.
So what are some of the stigmas that you feel like, and I'm just talking off the cuff, I know you got your stuff too, but I'm just curious, like, what are some of the stigmas that you've seen, or just responses you got from talking about it? Because I know with it being so stigmatized in the Black community, especially, like what's some of the pushback you get, or what are some of the more common things that you get that you would like to dispel?
So, no shade to anybody, but I'm just gonna say the first thing that pops into my mind. One of the biggest pushbacks that a lot of us receive is from our elderly community. Our parents, our grandparents, the grandparents that are helping us raise our children and have a huge say in what we do. Those are the ones who may not understand that you can't raise a child like you raised them in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s.
Lord, today.
That was okay for that season, and it kept you safe, and it got them to where they needed to be. But everyone is different. And for a while, that's, even though I was in the field and I had all the knowledge, I had all the book smarts, I did not move on getting a diagnosis or jumping into therapy right away because I did not have the backing from my family initially. Now, you know, we have conversations. I just recently had a conversation with my grandmother, and I was like, I just want to let you know what autism is. And I said something around that. And maybe a month later, she called me back and said, so tell me about that autism thing. So it may take them a while, you know. My dad was one, and now he'll say, you know, he's one of my biggest supporters now. He'll take my kids to their therapy sessions and just do everything they're supposed to do. But we look up to our elders. And if we don't have the buy-in from them, a lot of times we are not going to move on it. So if no one else is hearing this, I want the grandparents and the aunts and the uncles to know that you may be the deciding factor if someone gets services or not in our Black community, because we're looking to you for
Approval is the perfect word.
Yeah.
Because it's not always their advice, because they don't always know. They typically don't know the stuff. But it's that approval to be like, yeah, go do what you need to
do it. Just go
find it out. Find out.
Yep.
Right.
You know, I think for older parents, it's like if you misbehaving or we see it as misbehaving, it's like, go somewhere, sit down, shut up.
Yep.
That's how we were done. And we can't do it now. So I know Pastor says, he believes everybody has some type of special needs.
On the spectrum.
Some type of dysfunction somewhere. But we've kind of pushed it off. Yeah.
Yep.
So getting help is very, 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 very good. But I don't want to go into all of that because I'm
okay. Right. Oh, right. But knowledge is good. It's good that you say that because you are dealing with a generation. Like even when we talk about counseling, how therapists and things like that was looked upon like, oh, you need counseling. Yeah. Oh, you know, it was like something is wrong or whatever. But now we are in a world where there are labels in a sense, and there are diagnoses that shows that this is what's happening, and there are ways that we have to address this. And my mom is a huge one too. Oh, he just need to go sit down. Oh, just let me get him for a week.
Sit down there. Let me get him for a week.
Show him what to do. Right.
And she will to a certain extent.
And I will say, you do see a difference with the behavior sometimes. And I don't know if it's just because that's grandma. I'm a fear. You know, it's something different, but it still do need to be understood that. I like it too because, like I said, you may not have a child, but you may be a teacher, or I worked in a school district, or you know someone. So just to get this information, to even when you say the signs, and you may start talking about this, just tell me what is one of the signs, if you will, that you saw, or what is a sign that you can say, man, maybe I should look into this.
Do we want to wait on that? Because that is.
Oh, is that one of your? Okay, we'll wait on that. Sorry, I'm going into.
You are getting into the London show. She said you are getting into the London show.
We here though. Okay, well see. This is why you got to keep watching.
She got a 2-hour special. She said I'm going from real life talking to the London show, and you are getting into my stuff.
Yes. Okay, so we'll keep it. We'll keep it.
Because I think not just people.
Yes.
I mean, people are going to come in more because it's 40.
Oh yeah. Come on, y'all, keep sharing. Keep putting them names in.
We want to have this in with
get it.
I have some studio audience here.
Yeah, we got
everybody to get.
Absolutely. I loved how you said, even if it doesn't affect you in your house, it affects somebody that you know.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So if for nothing, for no other reason, share it because somebody is sitting on this information and they're just like, ugh, I want to, and they just need to hear us talk about it. To hear the church saying, it's okay to have these conversations. We're not going to judge you. Don't be ashamed. Move forward.
Definitely.
That's good.
So definitely.
Please share.
Yes. Don't be afraid.
One of those.
Yeah.
This is our job right now. We have to be advocates for those who cannot advocate for themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great help. Great knowledge, great information. I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to more.
If you're new or you just logged in, this is the Real Life Talk Show. Make some noise. And we are sitting here with Dom, the BCBA mom,
the board certified
behavior analyst. There we go. You learn something new every day.
I love that.
Period. With the period right after.
And you are subscribing right now. I know you're on here, and then now you're on the YouTube channel, subscribing. Let me tell you, I love your videos because you do let us into your life. But when you said like even being fun and not being so rigid, you can also see that. It's like, okay, I follow her because you're doing a lot of different things. It's funny. It's, the children are involved and all of that. So yes, go ahead.
So the thing about that is a lot of people think when they get the diagnosis, it's like a death sentence. Like my child won't have a future. They won't be able to do this and do that. So I try to intentionally bring my kids into my videos. And I know there is a wide spectrum. Every kid is not going to be the same. They're not going to do what my child does. But it's important to show that there is a life outside of the diagnosis.
That's good.
You can thrive, you can be happy, you can be married, you can, all of these things. So I try to be light in my videos specifically for those reasons. And because I do a lot. I have one of those brains that just like, what can I do now? What go. So I try to show that as well. And I like it. Like I say, vlogging is my self-care. So
Yeah, I love it.
So if you have a child that may be experiencing some of these signs that we'll talk about shortly, you can reach out to her. Again, tell them where they can get you at. And not just if you have a child, but if you know somebody that might be struggling, or if you know somebody that might be in denial, because sometimes we're in denial of what our children are going through.
Yeah.
And so we say, hey, check her out. Check her out on
and
YouTube.
Not even children,
Twitter.
not just children,
Right.
children and adults. Children and adults, yes.
Okay.
That's good. A lot of our adults are undiagnosed.
Yes.
And we've just grown up and we've coping with whatever it is we had to cope with. But it's not too late to get a diagnosis. It's not too late to go and get that evaluation, just so you know how to support yourself as a mother, and then as a grandmother, and as a professional woman, or a professional man. The world is just going to keep changing. So get support in any way that you can at any stage that you are.
How can I get in contact with you?
You can get in contact with me. You can slide in my DM.
Okay.
But don't be sliding in with no foolishness now, because she is married with children.
I'm married.
Okay, she's married now. So don't be sliding in there with no foolishness.
I do get a lot of questions in my direct messages in Facebook and in Instagram. So that's Dominique Taylor on Facebook. That's Dom_the BCBA mom on Instagram. Dom the BCBA mom on YouTube. I try to answer all of my comments. I feel like that's my pro bono work. I can't see and service everyone, but if you have a question, I try to answer it. I try to point you in the right direction. You can check out my website, stbc-llc.com, and then I have some resources on my website. If you just want something quick and something that's, attainable really quick, you can check out my TikTok. It's hilarious.
It is very funny. You are very funny.
I think I'm pretty.
Y'all keep watching. We're going to let Dom and London, they got to fly over to the other set.
They have to get there. We're on the lot right now. They've got to get to their other set.
They're coming from their trailers, and so keep watching, guys. Keep watching. We love you. Thank you for tuning in to RLT, and keep watching.
Tag.
Yes.
Don't forget.
Peace.
Y'all soon.
Peace out.
Hello, Lifeline. It's time for our community updates. This week at Lifeline Church, Thursday, May 19th, we have Lifeline Rewind at 9 p.m. Next Sunday, May 22nd, is Mexico Sunday. The seeds we sow support our Lifeline Monterrey, Mexico campus with Pastors Jesus and Victoria. You don't have to do life alone. Life groups are a place where you can grow in your walk with Christ and be connected to the LC community.
Hey parents, did you know we offer children's ministry every Sunday for youth ages 2 through 10? Life Kids is where our children come together and learn in an environment specifically designed for them. You can find Life Kids in the lower level of our LC main campus. Check-in begins at 9:45. All children are welcome to attend. See you there.
Would you like to be baptized? Baptism is one of the most important ways we demonstrate our commitment and connection to God. Our next baptism will be Sunday, June 5th. If you would like to be baptized, please register on our LC website or our mobile app.
Lifeline Ministers of Movement is excited to present to you all this year's edition of A Dancer's Heart. You thought last year was amazing? Well, I hope you all are ready to experience everything that God has for you all this year. So come ready to experience God's goodness through the art of movement and open up heaven. We hope you can join us on Sunday, May 22nd at 5 p.m. See you soon.
March. We're about to cross over. We're about to cross over.
LC family, join us on Sunday, May 29th for Family Picture Day. On this day, immediately following worship service, you and your family will be given the opportunity to take a family photo. Attention 2022 graduates. If you are a Lifeline partner graduating from kindergarten, elementary school, high school, college, or trade school, we want to celebrate you. Join us on Sunday, June 12th at Lifeline Main Campus for Graduation Sunday. All graduates, please register on our LC website or text the word GRAD22 to 54244. All graduates must register by May 29th. Just in case you may have missed something, because we do have a lot going on here at Lifeline, go to our LSOC website to see what you may have missed and more. Also, check out the Real Life Talk Show, which airs every Sunday and Wednesday before services. And remember, Lifeline Church is a place where love flows like a river. Catch the vision by reaching up to God, reaching into our fellow brothers and sisters, and reaching out to the community with the love of God. Have a great day.
Well, good evening, Lifeline. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How y'all doing this evening? All right, well, we have some studio audience, so you can feel free to, clap and say hallelujah. Greet the person next to you if you're in here. And then we want to say hello to those that are watching us online, on our Facebook channel, on our YouTube, on Twitter, on all of our platforms. We want to welcome you in. I know you were in Real Life Talk, but if you weren't, come on in, tag, share. Sharing is caring. So we're going to give you just a few minutes to kind of come on in and, tag and share. If you are in the building, you can also go on Facebook, share it, tag it, because somebody needs to hear what we will be sharing on tonight. All right, so let's see who we have here. I see Angie Patrick is watching, Addie Taylor. Let's see, Bajoria. I hear you logging on to Facebook. Okay. We got Cassandra Walton in here. We have Corey Williams. Y'all come on in, share this. Sharing is caring. And tag, if you're in a life group, tag those in your life group. They need to hear what's going on tonight. And if it's not specifically for them, they can help somebody else through what we're going to be discussing tonight. So you know what? We're just going to get on with the program. So tonight we have our discussion. We have our family town hall meeting. And so our discussion tonight will be around children and teens with special needs. And so before we go into that, this is the third week that we've been in our family town hall meeting, and we have not been able to get to this point. So we had to say, hey, we need to get to this point because people are dealing with it, whether you're dealing with a child or a teen with special needs, if you're dealing with them personally in your family, or if you even know someone that's dealing with it, we need to know how to handle these situations. So we have two people. I want you to introduce yourselves. So to my right, I have Mrs. Dominique Taylor, and then to my far right, I have Pastor Antoine Sanders. So just introduce yourselves first, tell a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go through my plethora of questions that I have for you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dominique Shorter Taylor. I am a partner here at Lifeline. I'm also a board-certified behavior analyst. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm an autism mom. I am an entrepreneur. I have my own private practice. And I also have a YouTube channel. We talked a little bit about that in the pre-show, Dom, the BCBA mom, and that's just how one of the many ways that I help disseminate ABA, applied behavior analysis, to those who may not be familiar with it but could use it because they have a child with special needs.
Good evening. I'm Antoine Sanders, one of the pastors here at Lifeline Church. I've been in social services for 25 years. I've worked at a therapeutic day school for 19 years. I've served as a support specialist, crisis prevention specialist, teacher's assistant, counselor, life skills director in a therapeutic day school. I'm also a father. I'm a husband and just a mentor and all that other good stuff.
All right, you all give it up for our guests. And if you're online, show them some love. Show our guests some love. Well, first I want to ask, I have several questions I want to ask, but when you mentioned therapeutic day school, what type of children or even adults do you deal with? What is a therapeutic day school?
A therapeutic day school is pretty much a school that specializes in behavior challenge students, those that may be diagnosed with certain mental issues, disabilities, and things of that nature. We service grades, 3rd grade to seniors in high school. So ages anywhere from 8 to 22, that's our cap out. And so we service those that may be, have learning disabilities, that may be diagnosed with different autism, ADHD, all of those different things. And we service them as a school. So our school specializes in servicing those special needs students.
Okay, so I think this is going to go perfectly with what you do. So it's kind of matching up. So you're in a therapeutic day school, you're a BCBA mom. So let's start off with this. What is a special need? And why is it seemingly so prevalent in today's times? Because like we were talking in a real life talk show, back in the day, nobody had special needs, so we said. It's like if you were misbehaving, it's like, get somewhere and shut up, sit down. But what if those children really had special needs? So kind of explain to me in your thoughts, what is a special need and why is it seemingly so prevalent in today's times?
So that's a really good question. I like to think of it in its most simplest form. When you think of someone who needs special adjustments or special requirements, that could be something as simple as when I wake up in the morning, I can't see clearly, so I put on my glasses. Or I can't breathe well, so I take my inhaler. So when you think of things like that, those are special adjustments or things or adaptive equipment that we need in order to function in this world. But we can see those things, and those are more accepted in society. That's why we have a book called the DSM, which is what qualifies as something that you diagnose a child or an adult with, and it constantly changes. So to your question, why is it more prevalent now? We have evolved, and we are now more aware that just because we can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. So a lot of the mental health issues that we're dealing with were going on internally. And because, there is no tangible, evidence to say this is actually what's happening, they were isolated or they were institutionalized or things like that. Now I think we are more open and accepting to a whole person and trying to learn about that. So I don't really think, a lot of people ask me, what's going on with this autism epidemic? And it's not really an epidemic. It's just that we have more screening tools. The doctors are asking the right questions a lot earlier. The teachers are asking the right questions. And we are being more accepting to, you know what, I like you, I want to learn about you and what you need in order to be supported, so I'm going to do whatever I can do to help to get you that support versus you're different, you're not like everyone else, let's put you over into this category and not integrate you into what's going on with society. So I think it's a little bit of both. Is there something going on to where, it seems like everyone, has some type of special needs? Maybe we're just more comfortable with talking about it. And at some point we were just like, I'm dealing with something, but everybody's going to judge me, so let me keep it to myself, like many of us as adults probably have done because we just had to do it. We had to get through life. So now that we are having these safe spaces, I think we are, people are talking about it more, and we have a more awareness and acceptance.
Yeah, I think everything she said was spot on. I think that the difference nowadays, I think we're open to identifying exactly what special needs are, versus in times past, I don't even think we were able to identify what that really meant. You guys mentioned how times are different. I can remember just being in the social service field, dealing with this population. I remember growing up with guys on my block that now that I'm able to identify it, I know they had special needs. When the lights come on, we all go to our porch. Why are you still outside? You know what I'm saying? And so back then we didn't understand it, but now that we are able to identify it, I think evolution plays a big role in it. I think just the growth in society, just being able to know what's what and put a name or put a topic on whatever it is that we're dealing with. I think that's where we are now. Because like she said, it's not new. It's just, hey, we're able to identify it now. And so now we're able to put the spotlight on it. We're able to meet the needs. We're able to give resources and tools and things of that nature.
I like Dom. What would you prefer, Dom or Dominique or BCBA?
You can call me Dominique.
Dominique, okay. So you answered this question, but I was going to ask, how do we make being differently abled something we don't treat as a taboo subject? And I think you answered it because you said having an open space or a safe space to share with this or to talk about this. And I believe these sessions that we have here and this panel here is a safe space for you. So if you have questions as we're talking, you can put those questions in the chat and we hopefully will get to them. But this is a safe space where we can talk about it and deal with it, because this is something that's in society and we can't no longer, brush it under the rug. We have to hit it spot on. And so for faith, us being people of faith, women and men of faith, how important is balancing faith and medicine in the journey with trauma and special needs?
Okay, I'll go first. Okay. I love this question. So as a behavior analyst, when I am servicing a child or an adult, I don't just give them one tool in order to help them function in this world. I give them a treatment package, and that's usually, I want you to go to therapy. I want you to do a social skills group. You may have to take some medication. So it's not just one thing. And I think that's where that balance of faith and medicine comes in. For an example, if you are dealing with depression and you go see a psychiatrist and you get medication, just taking the medication alone is not going to work. You may feel a little bit better, but they're going to tell you to do some actionable steps. So if your spirit is not up, if your spirit is not well, that's where that faith piece comes in. It's not going to fully get you to the place that you need to be. And for us, specifically people in the Black community, we need to tackle that faith piece first, because that's how we are brought up. Like, that is the core of who we are. So the people that are surrounded in our faith circles, our small groups, our parents, the people who, raised us up in the church have to surround us in these decisions that we're making as well. Because if I am going to therapy in secrecy, which I was taking my son to therapy in secrecy because I didn't feel like I could go to my church members, my church leaders, people who were so, just into faith and church. I feel like I would be betraying them by saying I'm doing therapy. Because in my mind, they're going to be like, well, you're not praying enough. Well, you're not worshiping enough. And you're not, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I am, but I just need something else to do. So, I love this shift that we are seeing in the church, specifically because, this is not the first time we've had this conversation. So I really appreciate this platform, because a lot of us are not going to move until the church says move. So we do need to have a safe space, but specifically the safe space needs to be here, because that's where we get our cues from in order to accept the treatment package.
And you mentioned about the psychiatrist. You can go to a psychiatrist, but if you don't do what they said to do, you'll still be the same. And that's just like with the word. We got the word. If we don't do what the word says to do, faith without works is dead. So with our faith, we have to put action. With our natural resources, we have to put action to it. We can't just be wishing and praying. We have to do something. So I really like that you said that.
And another thing about faith, I think, of course, there's a big stigmatism when it comes to church people and faith and what categorizes faith. You having faith, you don't have faith. That's a whole big mess. At the end of the day, you can believe God, but you also have to believe God that he sent these medical field people that's in these medical field, these workers, and you got to trust that, hey, and a lot of times, speaking of faith, we never pray and believe God to send us the right doctor, the right physician, the right medication. And so it's not an indictment against your faith because you're on medication. You have to understand the whole scope of things. Hey, the Lord sent me the right doctor. So I have faith that God is going to heal my son or deliver my daughter or whatever the case may be. And I believe he sent this doctor to assist with that manifestation. And so I think it's just our mindset. And it's not just with this. I mean, it's with a lot of things. But specifically towards this, you got to know that your faith and the medical field or the medicine or whatever the case may be, you got to trust God through all of that, you know. And so that's just something that I think we got to transition out.
That's just like taking a Tylenol for a headache. It's the same thing. You believe God for your healing, but until it manifests, if I need to use this Tylenol, 500, 800 milligrams to manifest, in Jesus' name, here we go. And that's what you're going to use. Well, however, any way you bless me, Lord, I'll be satisfied. Okay, so you mentioned your son. So we talked a little bit about it on Real Life Talk, but our studio audience, hasn't heard this. But what are some signs that we can look for to say that, hey, our child or our teen might be differently abled?
Great question. So just a little background story. I had a conversation with my 12-year-old this morning because he's getting older, and I wanted to get his consent to continue to share his story because he could be like, okay, Mom, stop. You're doing too much.
It's enough.
So I said, well, what is it can I share about your autism? And I was like, well, can I share about the videos you like to watch and the things you like to do? And he's like, yeah, you can share about that. And I said, well, can I share about, sometimes the meltdowns? He said, no, don't share that. I don't want to get embarrassed. Right. So I appreciate that he gave me that, but that he also set some boundaries. So I will keep it to the positives, but some things that you can look at, because all of these things people may think these are negative, but to him, like, these are my strengths. So some early signs that I would say are really easier to detect is speech. Speaking later in life, having a speech deficit, not meeting developmental milestones, not speaking at a certain age or walking at a certain age or making eye contact at a certain age, not playing with peers, not being interested in playing with peers, or maybe playing with your toys differently. Everyone else may make an airplane fly and your airplane may just crash on the ground, and that's what you like to do. Picky eaters, not liking certain textures or certain tastes. And it's so funny because in the Black community, it's like you clean your plate. Whatever I put in front of you, you gonna eat that. But now we are open to maybe that is not, allowing our kids to advocate for themselves. I don't like this because this could be a part of the special adjustments or accommodations that I need in my diet. This could make my tummy hurt and I can't express how that is. Social interactions is a really big one. Not greeting or greeting differently or not wanting to greet. That's another thing that we see in the Black community. You don't walk in here and not speak to nobody. That's right. You don't not hug your grandma and kiss your auntie and all of that. But we have to be okay with, if we have a child with special needs, being able to observe or advocate that he can wave and that's fine.
Because that's not their way of communicating.
Yep, communication is different. It's different, yep.
And so for me, I've been working with all ages, and that isolation is one thing, being isolated and being focused on certain things, specific things, whether it be trains, planes,
special interests.
Yeah, special interests. Dogs. You know, I have students right now. They're 17 years old, and they are completely in tune with dogs, like stuffed animal dogs, dog cartoons, dog commercials, whatever the case may be. That's just their thing. And so, and when you notice those type of things, that's a sign you got to pay interest into that. And so you gotta notice what they're like. You don't like other stuff. You just like trains. If that's it, you got to kind of make sure you pay attention to that type of stuff. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Don.
No, that's a really good point. And sometimes you may want to introduce them to other things just to kind of open their palate, but not reprimand them for having special interests. So, you know, you may have a teenager, but is he watching age-appropriate things? He may like Caillou. He may like Daniel Tiger all the way up until he's 30. Not making him feel bad for that. That's just his special interest. He may watch a certain scene from a movie over and over and over and over. And that happens in my house, and I'm just like, again. So what I like to keep a balance in my house. I like to allow him, this is his safe space at home. You can do what you want to do. However, we all live together. So how can we compromise? I'll say you can watch that 2 more times because we're all watching it together. Then after that, we're going to move on to the next scene. Or if he can get very loud, just loud, and not realizing, he'll like, that's just my voice. That's just my voice. And I was like, okay, but I have a new baby at home. Your sister is sleeping. So if you need to be loud, you need to go all the way to the back and get your loud out, get your stimming out, or whatever it is that you need to do, and then you can join us when you can respect what we need in this space. And it's different for young black men and young black boys because they're going to learn how to adjust to society a lot quicker than our white counterparts. If there was a little white boy out, and I know this wasn't even a question, but if there was a little white boy out having a tantrum at 13, 14, 15, he would be okay, and everyone would ask him, is this something that he needs, and they will coddle him. If there were my little black boy out there doing the same thing with a loud voice and being confrontational, as people would like to label it, it's a whole nother story. So I have to teach him in the house that this is your safe space. I honor what it is that you need. However, these are the natural consequences when you're outside of this house. So I have to teach him both. And my husband and I, we kind of go back and forth with how much we let him get away with, how much autonomy he has, because my husband is like, nope, we raising a black man, he a black man and a black man. And I'm like, but he needs this and he feels and da-da-da-da. So I think always having a counselor, a third party, someone that you can be like a non-biased, or take yourself out of it a little bit and have your child have his own counselor so you can kind of talk with the things that they need. Because it's just the intersectionality of being a black man with autism, with special needs, and a child. It's like nobody's listening to you. Nobody wants to hear your voice. So you have to, as parents, we have to create that space where it's like, all right, talk. Tell me what you need, and I'm going to tell you how much of that I can give you in the moment, and we can keep going as like that.
So I know you're talking about autism. Now the other, like ADD, ADHD, and you mentioned focus. Now I believe with some of the ADHD or ADD, they can't focus. So what are some other signs with other special needs that parents can look for? So they might not have a child who just has a special attention or special interest, but there might be some other signs that they need, that they're differently able. So what are some other signs that parents can, look for?
Lack of attention, meaning paying attention. Can't sit in one space for a certain amount of time. They hungry, they not hungry. They want French fries, they don't want French fries. And when you don't have what they need, there's an automatic reaction. Whether it's I'm just gonna throw the whole plate or I'm gonna get up and storm out of the room. A lot of times, because we're not educated on this, we look at this as defiance. I made mashed potatoes, you're going to eat mashed potatoes.
That's right.
Not really understanding that my moment of wanting mashed potatoes is gone because of my short attention span. So I don't want mashed potatoes right now. And so the first thing we do is, oh, come here, you disobeying me. I told you to, not really understanding that it's not, I'm defying you, it's that I can't even process the fact that I don't want mashed potatoes no more. And so I think we got to be educated. And when I say this, I don't mean we all got to go to school, but I think we all need to be educated on what we're doing now. What are signs? What are this? How can we this? How can we that? I think that way we would be more empowered to deal with this population a lot better. Another sign is not wanting to talk, like mid-conversation, done. Or being impulsive, like we'll be talking about, I have students, they are infatuated with certain things, and no matter what's going on, they'll bring it up. I got a kid, he loves Batman. In the middle of reading about the ocean, he'll go, na, Batman, like right in the middle of class. And we got to be able to say, okay, too many of those outbursts, something is going on. And I think we don't look for these signs, but if the signs are being repeated, I think, you know what I'm saying, you pay attention enough to say, now, they've been doing this for a month. Like, you know what I mean? Batman ain't that good. You know what I'm saying? And so we got to be able to have a reality check and have a reality moment and say, hold up, let me check this. That's another thing, denial for parents.
That's big.
We like, ain't nothing wrong with him. He just like that movie. Well, he's 20 and he's still watching Caillou. You should have saw something. You know what I'm saying? Just be open and honest enough to say, maybe I need to go just get an evaluation just on GP. Or let me call somebody. You got Dom up here.
That's right.
Call her. Hey, look, my kid, does this, that, and the other.
You can slide into her DM, she said.
Yeah, slide into the DM. You got your prices and everything in there? Okay. So do that. I think being educated will help us deal with those different behaviors more quickly, and we'll be able to get them whatever they need, the support and the resources in a timely fashion.
I think for parents that, because like I said, back in the day, it was like if you were active or if you were misbehaving, you just, whooped them or punished them, told them to get somewhere and sit down. So now these things are being brought to light. And sometimes as parents, we could feel guilt, or condemned because we whooped them and they really had a special need. So what can you, if anything, share with parents who may be dealing with this now later in their child's life and kind of having those regrets of, whooping them or punishing them because they're special need and we weren't educated at that point about it?
You want me to go? Go ahead. You gotta get a grip on yourself really quick, because the more time you spend in condemnation, the more your child is growing up dealing with this special needs that's not being attended to. And so I'm not telling you to get over yourself, but I'm also saying get over yourself. Like, because at the end of the day, it's not even about you, it's about this child. Yeah. And so just because you missed it, you got to deal with it, repent, get help, whatever you need to do so you guys can get right on dealing with the forward progress of this student, or I'm in school mode, right. this child.
That was a really great question. I used to read this Bible plan, and it was called Overwhelming Blessings, and it was about a mother and her children are her overwhelming blessings. They're a blessing, but they're overwhelming at times. And one of the things that really stuck with me when I was dealing with or coming to terms with what I had done probably wrong all of these years is you can't parent for the audience. So a lot of us are parenting so our children won't embarrass us. So we don't accept tantrums out in the grocery store because people are looking at us. We whoop our kids because our parents told us you're not whooping them enough. Sometimes they'll give you the belt and be like, here, you whoop them. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. And sometimes you have to stop and just say, this is not working for my house. Consequences should occur, but you need to understand what works for your child and not always thinking about punishment. Like, how much are we incorporating positive reinforcement, like we were talking about earlier, or finding the things, paying attention to the things that you enjoy and that you want to see more of versus the things that you want them to stop doing, because that's going to have a long-lasting effect on their self-esteem and trauma for the child growing up. So you got to stop it right now. Like Pastor Swan said, it's not about you. Found you a support group of other parents and y'all can talk about it. But in the moment, put on your brave face and move forward with what your child needs. And you mentioned education. You don't have to go to school to be educated. We got Google, which is our best friend, but also observing your child. Like not seeing what you want to see, sitting and looking, talking with them, just like my son says, this is my voice. This is what I need. This is what I do when I'm frustrated. I can't be like, well, you don't do that in my house. If that's what he needs, then I need to take that into consideration and put that in the treatment plan. So it's not about everyone else. It's not about your family. I know we are really honed in on tradition and our values and things like that, but sometimes your traditions have to change from house to house, from child to child. Because I parent my children very differently. My 5-year-old, when he does a great job, he wants high fives and kisses and hugs and time with mommy. And my 12-year-old, when he does something well, I'm like, good job, high five. He's like, I just need you to leave me alone for 20 minutes. That is my high five. And you have to be okay with them having different needs and not always focusing on, I'm going to beat this until I'm going to beat this out of you. I'm going to reprimand. I'm going to punish this until you stop. Focus on what they're doing well and keep reinforcing and rewarding that behavior.
Can I say something? First of all, let me commend you with raising an autistic young man. You are doing a fantastic job. Real talk. You said something about a treatment plan. And believe it or not, out of all of my years in social services, I've never heard of a treatment plan for your house. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it may be some parents that may be dealing with this that have never heard the term of a treatment plan. What would be maybe the top 3 things or 3 or 4 things would you recommend being in that treatment plan?
I would always start with functional communication. A lot of times we see behaviors that we deem inappropriate or defiant or bad, and that's always usually tied to the person is not communicating what they really want, what they really need, or you're not receiving what they really want and what they really need. So you have to promote a space for them to communicate. A lot of people may think that I let my child talk back to me or speak his mind too much. But imagine having a child who's nonverbal. Imagine having a child who can't talk. And you're like, please just let my baby talk, let my baby talk. And then they finally talk and you tell them to shut up. Like, no, we can't do that. So because he did have a speech deficit, now that he's able to advocate for himself, I really do try to, as much as I can, honor his requests and promote a space in our home where if you're not being disrespectful, don't raise your voice at me, but tell me what it is that you need, and I will try to get whatever it is that you need. So that's that functional communication piece. We want them to tell us what we need. We honor their requests, and if their request is being met, you don't have to see that tantrum and behavior. You're not going to see that physical aggression. You're not going to see that verbal aggression because their needs are being met. The second thing I would say is positive reinforcement. A lot of times we focus on what we want them to stop doing. So if a kid is running down the hall, stop running down the hall. Okay, so now what? I still need to get to where I'm going. I still am running like I'm on a motor because I may have ADHD. So instead of telling me stop running, why don't you say walk please, and find a replacement behavior. And when they actually do walk, say, good job for walking. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being safe. So
does that work for teens, or are we just talking about children?
It does work for teens, but like I said, you have to identify what is reinforcing to the teens. Okay. The teens may not like a good job. They may like, thank you for walking. You know what? That last homework assignment that I assigned you to, you don't have to do it anymore because you were listening today. Okay. Or, you know what? The last 10 minutes, everybody gets to get up and do a TikTok. So whatever it is that is reinforcing to them, you can provide reinforcement at any level. The third thing I probably would say is make learning easier. So we sometimes, because there is no like visible characteristics of autism, sometimes we forget that our kiddos and our adults are autistic, that it is a developmental delay. So learning anything is going to be harder for them. So instead of just saying, pick this up, put this there, write this down, that you may have to break it down into smaller steps. You may have to give them grace as they're learning each step and provide positive reinforcement for each step. That's just like if a baby was learning how to walk, you wouldn't wait for the baby to start walking to say, good job. You say good job when they start sitting up and they pull up and they take their first steps. You encourage them along the way. So people with intellectual disabilities or developmental disabilities, you don't want to patronize them, but you want to acknowledge that this may be hard for them. I see a lot of videos and TikToks where it say Black people, when they help their kids with homework, it's like 4 + 4 is, and then they just get louder, asking the same questions instead of saying, okay, let's pull out some tools. You got 4 over here. You got to really just have patience, break it down, and whatever preconceived notion of what you thought you were going to have as a child, of the type of parent that you were going to be, you got to throw that out the window and identify what is needed for this child in this moment. Because maturation is real. They're going to grow up and they're going to be a whole different set of things. But in this moment, this is what they need. So give them what they need, and it'll bring more peace in your house. Because my house used to be chaotic. I know you say, well, I'm doing a great job. I'm like, whew. We got over that hurdle, and it's always going to be something different. But I need peace in my house, and that means meeting my son where he is, educating my husband on autism and the special needs, but also listening to him when he says, this is the time where we just do something a little bit different.
Now, is it too late? So say you have your child and you miss it. You don't know that they have ADD or autism. You don't know. You just know something's not right. And you may be whipping them or whatever. And you mentioned these 3 things. Does that work for teens all the time? Because right now, they're set in their ways. It's like, I don't need this or I don't need that. So because we're talking about children and teens, so what are some ways you can deal with your teen? And it might be the same ways, but, kind of share on that too.
Okay, so that's... Okay, I will say the longer a behavior has been going on, the longer a behavior has been reinforced, the harder it is to break. I will say that. So, yeah, so that's why I work with adults, and I love working with adults because they are counted out. Not a lot of people are going to look for change in adults. They're like, oh, they're already there. Some people may think the same way about teens. So that's why I think maybe it may be important to bring in a third party, because that third party has not had contact with that teen. That third party is a fresh set of eyes, a fresh perspective on, okay, now let's build a rapport from right now, and then bring the parent in and say, well, this is what I'm doing. This is what he said that is reinforcing to him. This is what he's struggling with. How can we bring you in and get you up to speed on what this new routine is gonna go, how this new routine is gonna go. Another thing about teenagers, just like we saw the last 2 weeks with Crave here, they have language, they can communicate. So listening to your teen and having that balance of, I see what you're saying, This is your function. This is why you're doing what you're doing. This is my function. This is why I need you to do this. How can we compromise? Because my goal is to keep you safe and to help you have a successful life. But what does success look like to you? And how can we come to an agreement on school is non-negotiable, but if homework is too hard for you, then let's go to the school and get some accommodations for homework. If you love video games and I think you're doing too much of it, then let's compromise and say we're going to do an hour of screen time or an hour of video games where you can chat online with whoever you're chatting with, because that is something that calms you down. So, and then that's one thing I had to deal with. I hate video games. I hate gaming. I think it's like, but that's not fair, because my son will say, and he has said after a meltdown, he's like, I think I need to play some Wii. And typically a parent will be like, you ain't playing no Wii. You just went through all of that. You're on punishment. But I had to say, you know what? If you need to just dance, then go ahead and just dance. And then we'll come back to homework after that. So really just throwing away what I thought was going to be this time and taking it day by day.
Now, I'm going to ask you two questions. I don't know if you wanted to share something with that, or you trying to take over my hosting.
No, ma'am.
Because you're doing a good job, but I just want you to let you know I'm hosting here, man.
Yes, ma'am.
What you want to
I think another thing is parents should utilize their resources. Social workers, you got a lot of therapists, you got a lot of groups, you got a lot of support groups and things of that nature for parents and teens. And so when you're going through this situation with your teen, use your support groups. Those therapists and social workers and all of the people, support groups and all that stuff that you have access to, use them, because they'll help with the forward progress.
Now that's answering into my question. So you're in the spirit on the Lord's Day. So how do parents identify the right therapist? Because now therapy is just like the thing now. Everybody, Jesus and therapy. And there's so many therapists out there. So how do we as parents identify the right therapist for our children?
I think identifying the right therapist is like identifying the right partner. You may not settle on the very first therapist that sees you or that services you. Even if you go with all Black therapists, I know we're like, no, we need more Black therapists, and we do, but not every Black therapist is going to be the therapist for your family. And I've gone through a lot of Black therapists. I love them, but they were there for that season, and then we had to move on because now we're going through something different. But what I will say, like, if you're looking for a partner, if you're looking for a spouse, you may have to date in order to find that spouse, but you're never going to find a spouse unless you date. So you're never going to find the right therapist unless you actually start looking for therapists and actually, starting that process. Another thing, just like I said, representation matters. So no offense against any therapist that is not Black, but if I want to talk about all of the issues that are going on in my Black household, and I open up to a white therapist and I say, we whoop my son, the fear is, that we're going to get our kids taken away, or that just certain things that happens in our culture that they won't understand, and we have to spend a whole hour unpacking why I said that to him. No, I'm really not going to smack him, but that's just how we commute, whatever. So, representation matters. Sometimes we won't even move on finding a therapist until, like, even with the whole COVID vaccine, right? Nobody wanted to get vaccinated until I heard a Black doctor said, I want to get vaccinated, and I vaccinated my family. I was like, okay, well then I'm going to do it. So we do need more Black teachers, Black social workers, Black pastors, and Black doctors saying, Black people, this is for us too. This is not just a white people thing, going to therapy and healing your family. This is what we need to do, if not even more, because we have more trauma than anybody else in this world. So I think it comes from actually going out and shopping around, but also finding one that understands your culture.
I agree.
Now, you don't have to not say nothing because I did that. I was,
No, seriously.
not throw that joke out there.
No, she hit it.
Okay.
You got to really date. I like that term, because a lot of times we go and say, well, they look nice. I think we should go with them. No, you need to really, like if you're dating somebody, we all on their social media, we done Googled their names, we done went to social media, we see if we got the same friends, we see what you like. You got to do that with your therapist.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Now, the next one I wanted to tackle, you mentioned about the school, talking to the school. How or what are some ways that parents that we can advocate for our children in the school system and even with our doctors? Because sometimes you mentioned Black children. Sometimes, the white children might have all of these plans and different things like that to help them succeed. But when it comes to our children, it's kind of shunned, like, no, they need to go to detention. So how do we as parents advocate for our children in the school system and even with the doctors?
That's a good question. I would say, and not everyone qualifies for this, but if you see that your child needs accommodations, I would advocate for an IEP, which is an individual education plan. And that just means, so when you think about a school, everyone is supposed to be unified. Everybody's supposed to sit down at the same time, they stand up at the same time, they test at the same time. So nobody is looking to individualize your kid. So you have to advocate and say, my kid needs individualized testing time, and they need transition, they need walking breaks, they need water breaks, they need time to STEM with a fidget in their desk, and just being okay with that. So we have to be okay with it first before we can bring it to the school, because to advocate against the school is very intimidating. I've had to do it on both ends, where I have clients and their parents are there, and I'm the one that's giving suggestions. But when I'm on the other end and it's all white therapists and white school social workers, and they're telling me all of these things, that's a very intimidating thing. So sometimes you can bring someone with you. If you have a social work friend, bring them to the IEP with you. You can bring anyone. You can call as many meetings with the school as you want to. And if you get an IEP, it is a law-abiding document. So if they do not follow it, then they're in violation. So that's one way to do it. But sometimes the diagnosis start with the school. So the school should be the one that's catching all of these things. They're with your kid for 7 hours, placing all the demands. They should be able to see that your kid needs some adjustment, and don't just send them to detention. Like, are we still doing that?
Yes, they are. I don't think schools now, for us, I don't think they look at that. They rather send us to detention than to say, hey, is this something really wrong or really going on in their brain, that their brain functions different than the other children? Is there something going on? So I don't think schools nowadays, they pay too much attention to that. Now, I know you know about IEPs too, but IEP, I always thought that an IEP was just for behavior. But you just mentioned the IEP. So kind of explain a little bit, both of you, about the IEP you mentioned.
So an IEP is for a lot of different things. So you can, if you need speech and you have a speech therapist that you're seeing for 30 minutes a week or an hour, that will be on your IEP. Because if they're like, well, where is Johnny? Why is he in class? This document says that he should be where he is. And if you're not pulling him out for that 30 minutes, then you're in trouble. You can have it for, like you said, behavior, for OT if they need support with writing, or if they need to wiggle a little bit and they need some type of movement support. They can have an IEP for like a learning disability, for reading and extra resources for math and things like that. So it should be anytime that they aren't able to perform at levels of their peers, then that's when an IEP should come into play and say, how can we support them? Because, you only see it as they are misbehaving. Well, maybe they don't know, or maybe they can't. A lot of times it's like, you want them to do something. Can they do it, or are they just not willing to do it? Either way, that should be addressed and not sent to detention. Either way, you can address that either with more support or motivating them more. But it never should be a case where it's like, you're not behaving like everyone else, so I'm going to put you in isolation. How does that help the problem? Did you identify why? Which is what behavior analysis is. We always want to start with the why. And sometimes a behavior can look a certain way. It can look like physical aggression. It can look like tantrum. It can look like defiant. But the reason behind it could be just for attention or because school is too hard. So whenever I do this, I get sent to the principal office and I want to escape anyway. So before you're implementing these consequences or this punishment, you could be rewarding their behavior without identifying why is this happening.
And that IEP allows those that work with that individual to know what their plan is. Okay. Because it's not just, I know it says individual, but that plan is for all of those that we have, 100 students at my school. I have access to all of their IEPs because if I'm working with you, I need to know what the plan is, what's going on with you, how can I assist you, how can I not be a trigger to you, which leads me to the question that you asked. Sometimes when we have children that are in these categories, we got to make sure that we find a school that service them. We can't just send them to the regular local school. Sometimes we might have to put them into a therapeutic day school or a special ed school where it specializes in, like she said, the unity. Everybody is uniform. So when everybody stand up at the same time. They can't do that. So if you put them in an environment where they're not the only one that's not standing up on time, it also makes them feel a little more comfortable to say, well, I'm not by myself. So let me go ahead and get involved in my progress. Because a lot of times it can be very uncomfortable when you're the only kid in the class standing up when everybody's sitting down.
And they know that.
Right.
A lot of people will count out a child with special needs and, they don't know no better. That they can feel that. They can sense that they are alone in their family. They can sense the disappointment on your face, the facial expressions, the stop that, stop. You're always telling them to stop instead of putting them in a surrounding or people where it's like, everyone is doing this. We're all quoting movies. We're all wobbling in our seats, and we all need walking breaks.
And that helps with social emotional goals. Because we for whatever reason, we forget that these are humans. Everybody want to socialize. Everybody want to be liked. Everybody want to laugh and have a good time. And so when you put them in an environment where everybody is expressing themselves in their own way and you're not isolated, it feels better. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody wants to be loved and have attention and all of that type of stuff. And so we got to be mindful of that as well.
Now, with an IEP, I've heard of 504 plan. Is that the same as an IEP, or is that different than an IEP?
Okay. I don't know all of the details about a 504 plan. I've never really had to be a part of one. But I think to my experience, the IEP carries more weight. So the 504 plan can come first, or it can come and work in tandem with the IEP. But the IEP is the goal if you want it to be more solidified. And if someone else knows more about this in the audience, yes, please.
Oh, can you come to the microphone? Because we do have people online, too, that we want to hear what you're saying. Thank you.
This is our church social worker.
Yes.
The main difference in the 504 is usually centered around a medical condition. So a person can have a 504 plan if they have a chronic medical illness. They can have epilepsy, they can have asthma, it can be different things like that. But academically, they're fine. But usually if it's a combination of things, that's when they go for the IEP, when there's some academic deficits.
So the 504 is not if you don't have a chronic illness, you shouldn't be looking for a 504 plan. You should be looking for the IEP.
You still can have accommodations within a 504 plan.
Okay.
So you can't use both, but they both work together. They should be working together for a common goal. You know
But the
what I mean?
504 is only if you have the extreme, like asthma and different things that you talked about there. Okay.
It's usually you have a medical condition, but you're academically sound.
Okay. Okay.
The
And that's
IEP
where
is
your
when you
IEPs
more academically have
Challenged.
deficits.
Right. IEP says you're more academically challenged.
Okay.
The 504 says you have a medical illness.
Okay.
And so most of the time, am I correct? And most of the time, if that's the case with an individual student, we use both because we're going to need both of those plans to get the best success outcome. All right.
Okay, that's good. I mean, that's knowledge for me too, because I've heard of a 504 plan and we kind of shun the IEP, but the IEP is for educational, and then you match it with the 504 if you have a medical condition that's hindering your education or whatever. Okay, this is great knowledge. Now, with children, let's see, we have like 6 minutes left, so I want to get a couple more questions out. Oh, is the diet and the exercise related to the cause of, could it be related to the cause of the diagnosis? And if so, do you know of any changes or adjustments that they can make to their diet or even exercise to kind of help them in that?
If you ask a doctor this question, which I have, they will say there's no studies out there. We don't know what causes autism. We don't know what causes ADHD. But I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups with autism moms and ADHD moms and things like that. And everyone has their individualized and unique stories. And some people say, hey, I cut out gluten from my kids' diet and I don't see any more of those impulsive behaviors. Or, for example, if my son is out for a bike ride, we may see less behaviors because he's able to get that movement out. So it all depends on what's going on in your immediate environment. I can't speak to a specific diet because I haven't done any research on that. But do I try to limit processed foods and sugar in the morning? And absolutely, because in my mind, it's like it's not helping. So if it's not helping, then I try not to. However, some people may feel like removing all of these things may increase behaviors because now you are taking away something that was comforting for them. So I say do whatever it is that you need to do that is not harmful and that everyone in your house agrees upon.
I think eating right, living right, exercising, all of that stuff is just a common goal for everybody. And so I wouldn't say it causes more or less of a diagnosis or whatever the case may be. It just helps you become a more healthy person. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So just because I got ADHD, I wouldn't recommend sugar. I mean, that's like a automatic, right? Yeah. You already got it, you know what I'm saying, for whatever your diagnosis is. So you might want to cut down there. So like she said, whatever you need to do, adjustments and modifications in your own home, you do it.
So this has been a great conversation, but I have one last question that's going to kind of tie all of it in. So, so you say your child has been, diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, autism. Now, how do we help them get past that diagnosis and go on to be great in their lives? Because sometimes, I think you mentioned it before, you get this stigmatism, and it's like, oh, this is a death sentence, I can't do this, I can't do that. So how do we help them to, hey, you can go on and be great. How do we help them to thrive in their life?
Awareness and acceptance. So these are two different things. Awareness is, I know this is happening, let me read up on it. Acceptance is, it's not, I love you in spite of this. I love you because of this. And I'm still working on that as a parent. And it was another autism mom who called me out and was like, you haven't accepted that your son is autistic. I'm like, yes, I have. What do you mean? I'm a BCBA. And they was like, no, you haven't, because you are still trying to change him. So realizing that whatever it is that he does is not wrong, it's not bad behavior. That is how he is experiencing this world. That is his perspective. That's just like, you telling me to go try this drink at Starbucks. You like, this drink is so good. We can go to the exact same Starbucks, get the exact same barista, and I hate the drink. Yeah. That's just how I'm experiencing it. I'm not wrong and you're not wrong. So we need to accept autism, ADHD, learning disabilities, whatever it is, for what it is, and not specifically try to change that as if they are wrong. And if we have that same sentiment, then our children can thrive because they know that they are supported in whatever they do, and they have an advocate that is going to say, no, we're not going to treat my son like that. We're not going to put him in detention and time out. We are going to listen to him and see what it is that he needs and come up with a compromise. That's not easy because a lot of autistic qualities make us uncomfortable. Especially as Black people, we just don't, like we say, we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want him to get hurt. We don't want him to get shot by the police. So we try to keep him in this box. So it's not just us, but society needs to have more acceptance of children and adults with special needs and with different abilities. So it can be safe for them to be themselves. Because as of right now, it's not. And I'm not going to fake like it is. Like everybody can go and do what they want to do, but they should be able to. So it's going to be a lot of work. It's not easy.
I would say observation and education. What I mean by that is you got to observe your child. You got to pay attention to things that you wouldn't normally pay attention to. And educate yourself on the why. She said that, the why. Why does my child do that? Or why do they learn that like this? Like, what is really going on? And once you find out the why, you can target your education on it and get as much information as you can. And once you get that information, tailor it to your child. You know what I'm saying? Because what worked for other people may not work for your home. And so you get the information, of course, and you tailor it to what works for my house, for my child. How can I accommodate them? How can I modify some things for them? How can I make them become a better person with what they have? And push that. You know what I'm saying? And so you gotta do self-affirmations. Like she said, hey, you're doing a great job. You're gonna be the best person in your class. You gotta do all of that and continue to do that because it changes. Your special needs child at age 5 gonna be different at age 10, and then at age 15. Because not only are you dealing with the special needs, you're dealing with puberty now. You're dealing with curiosity. All of that stays the same. So don't think your special needs kid don't have regular needs and thoughts and stuff. Because you can walk in on your special need kids and you like, hey, what you watching? And they like, hey, you know what I'm saying? And so you got to be able to educate yourself and tailor whatever you need to do for your home.
I like that you said tailor what you need to do for your home because there's a lot of information out there. So you can go to one website, they'll tell you A. You can go to another website, they'll tell you Z. But allowing Holy Spirit, even through going to these resources, allowing Holy Spirit to guide us and to help us navigate our child is the best thing. So now, do we have any questions from either our studio audience or our online audience? No? All right. Well, I guess this has been very comprehensive, so give them a hand. Yeah. So I am excited about this, even with this whole family series, because we're talking about from trauma to triumph. And so once we talk about these things and deal with these things, we can kind of help with the trauma that we may have caused our child because they were, differently abled and we didn't know about it. So I really enjoyed this panel. I really enjoyed the ones from the past 2 weeks. They were very informative. Have you all been enjoying these panels? Yeah. So closing thoughts, final thoughts from you both, and then we're gonna move to the next segment. So just final thoughts on what you want to share and just make a note, people to make a note of.
Like I just said, educate yourselves, observe your child, and if you see anything that shouldn't be, educate yourself and find out the why. And don't be scared to use your resources. For whatever reason, people are like, I don't want people to know that I'm dealing with this. You are hindering the progress of your child when you do that. Make some phone calls, reach out to some people, find out what's going on, and you may get blessed by connecting with somebody like a Dominique, or even pulling me to the side. Hey, I know you work at this school. Hey, what's going on here? What can I do? And then get that support so you can help quickly get on top of what needs to be done, because you don't want to wait.
Those are all great points. I would also say normalizing these type of conversations. I can't say how much I am grateful that you guys are having these conversations. I don't have to go outside anymore to find my community. It's right here. And I'm not the only person in this congregation, online, in the vicinity that is working or loving on someone with the same diagnosis. But until we see it, until you say it's okay to have that conversation, we're going to keep it to ourselves. And then I also would say early intervention is key. And that doesn't just mean if you don't catch it at age 2 or 3, then you're not going to catch it. As early as you can. If you don't notice it until they're 13, if you don't notice it until they're 16, that's still enough time to do something about it. So sitting on this information, you as a parent, you are the BCBA. You are the expert on your child. So if you notice that something needs to happen, don't sit on it. It doesn't hurt to get an evaluation. It doesn't hurt to have these conversations, find your circle, and move on this, because as Pastor Twan said, that individual, that child is the one that is going to have a delay in service the more you sit on it and you perseverate over, are people going to blame me? Am I going to be shamed for this? It's not about you. It's about them.
Absolutely.
You know, you got something else?
Speaking of parents, a lot of times, and parents really don't know this, but your ignorance to what's really going on causes more trauma to your special need. And they're already carrying enough stuff that we bring to the table that they got to deal with. But you not taking care of this and not dealing with it and accepting it and moving forward to get it, you're causing more trauma for them. Because that delay gives them more of a struggle to deal with. They lost a lot of time. And so now, like she said, you're 13. It's not too late, but you've lost a lot of time because of your own self-righteousness and your own denial. And so we got to get to the place where we're able to get out of our own way so that we can help our child.
Yeah, I think this talk has been so refreshing. It's been so great. And I know that it's helped somebody, even for those that their children might not be 2, they might be 13, 14. Now is the time to start putting these things into action, because once you know better, you can do better. So that's great. Now, we've said since the beginning of this church, starting in 2007, that everything we need is in the house. And so these are both partners of Lifeline Church, and everything we need is in the house. So I just again, thank you all for sitting with me tonight. And now, as we do every time, we come into service, it's time to give. Woohoo! So we should have on the screen our multiple ways to give. You can give by mailing. You can give here. You're in our studio audience. You can give by Cash App, by text to give, by our mobile app. And you see all of those ways to give. Do that tonight. Don't let tonight go without you sowing into the kingdom of God. These talks, we're normalizing these talks. And so sometimes you might look online and say, oh, what they doing up here with 3 chairs talking about special needs? Yes, because these are things that we as a body of Christ deal with that we don't want to talk about. But we here at Lifeline Church, we talk about these things because we want to teach people where they live. And if you're living in that way, we don't want you to be embarrassed or to be shamed. Shame off of anybody that's dealing dealing with this. It's time for us to be open and honest and to receive the help. And we can only receive the help when we're open and honest about it. So yeah, it's time to give. All right. If you have, we have the buckets. If we have the buckets, we can pass the buckets. If we have some here in our studio audience. And I trust that you have clicked the button already to give online. All right. All right, it says here LC updates. Okay. I think we watch community updates. So if you're online or if you're even in the building, if you haven't received the community updates, you can go back online to watch those just to be in the know on what we're doing here at Lifeline Church. All right. So I believe that is all. Pastor Reggie, do you have something? Huh? Oh, okay. Well, if that's all, we can stand. It's time to go here. Pastor Twine, can you close us out in prayer here?
Yes, ma'am. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for this time of fellowship and education in our community. I thank you, oh God, for the knowledge and wisdom that you have placed in the house, in our community. Father, I pray that every person that has been educated and empowered tonight, I pray, God, that you would continue to give them wisdom and knowledge to move forward with whatever situation they're going through with their child. I pray a special grace, a special blessing and anointing over every parent that is in this situation, in this predicament. I pray, God, that you would continue to give them strength, give them the wherewithal on how to raise godly children in the name of Jesus Christ. And then we leave this place, God, cover us with your blood and let us make it to our various destinations safe and sound. We give you honor, glory, and praise in the name of Jesus. We pray. Everybody say amen.
Amen, amen.
Go
and
in peace.
Before you log off, make sure you tune in at 9:30 on Sunday for Real Life Talk and 10 a.m. for our Sunday mornings gathering. All right. Good night, all.